for people, and we talked about this not too terribly long ago, but for people in our audience who have never heard about the chisel and they don't know what it is, can you give us a little bit of background on the chisel, if you don't mind?
Oh yeah, I certainly can. I would be glad to. There's some crazy ass people in Tennessee, wrestlers especially, and probably one of the most crazy individuals in Tennessee wrestling history was a guy named Ron Wright, and he talked like that, like a redneck. Boy, I'm gonna whoop your ass. He was like, he was a character, man, and he wasn't just doing that on interviews. He talked like that all the time, And he flew an airplane, which I couldn't believe. He seemed uneducated to me, but I mean, he had on his own airplane. He was a sharp guy. He was just an East Tennessee old hillbilly, and he came to Florida in about 1973, and he spent a week down there with us. And he sat in the dressing room. He took out this little piece of metal. It was about as wide as your hand when you make a fist, and it was maybe 2 inches wide and 2 inches in one direction and as wide as your hand on the other. And they had a piece of tape on the back of it, and on the top of that piece of metal, he had a little triangular shaped piece of steel that was welded to the top of that piece of metal, and it stuck up, I'd say, close to a half an inch, at least a quarter of an inch, between a quarter to a half an inch, and it was shaped like a triangle so that it had a sharp point on it. And he had an emery file, and nobody talked to him much because he talked like that. You didn't know whether he had any brains or not, right? So he sat in the dressing room every night, and he had an emery board, and he would file that little triangular shaped edge, sharpening it, his chisel. And finally, guys, after a couple of nights, says, "What the hell is that?" That's my chisel. And I was asking, I said, what do you do with it? And he says, well, I hit guys with it. And I said, oh, you shitting me? That's what the hell does that do? He says, oh, they bleed good. I said, well, I guess they would, right? So he threatened. So he spent a week there. He threatened every night, I'm going to hit somebody with my chisel tonight. and the guys are all going, oh, wait a minute here, man, So I figured he wasn't going to live that whole week. Somebody was going to beat the hell out of him before he got to the end of the week. So on Saturday night, there's a battle royal at Lakeland. And he's filing his chisel. He said, tonight's my last night. I'm going to get me somebody with my chisel. And so there was a young guy, Joe Flaherty. I don't know if you remember him.
Yeah.
You remember him?
Yeah,
Joe Flaherty.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the middle of the battle royal, he gets Joe Flaherty tied in the ropes. And he goes to the middle of the ring, and he turns his back to him, and he reaches in his tights, and he pulls out his chisel. And he puts it on his hand. I'm like, and the battle royal just about stops. We all like, what in the hell is he doing? And then there's Flaherty, and Flaherty's kicking and screaming. He sees him coming. Oh, no, he's kicking and just, so he goes over, headlocks him, and he pops him. Oh, boy, blood all the way to his knees. It was like, wow, jeez. All right, my gosh. And then when I went to Tennessee, he was the best talent I had. When I started in Knoxville, he was the best guy there, and I ended up working against him. I bet I worked against him in a 3-year period of time, maybe 300 times.
Wow.
And he would want to use his chisel on me. He said, tonight, boy, we're ready. I'm going to chisel you tonight. No, man, no, you ain't neither, right? So he kept taking out his chisel in matches. He'd go pulling his tights. He always had it in there, and he'd pull out his chisel, and I'd whack him really good, take it away from him, and I hit him with it. I hit him with it probably 5 times, took it away from him, and hit him instead of him hitting me. And then finally one night he got me. And it was like 18 stitches, I think it was, inside and out. Oh man, it got me good too.
Did you know it was coming?
No, he would take that thing out every night. You know, I wasn't looking for that, and I'd see him turn his back, and I'd go, "Oh, beat damn, man, here we go." Right? He'd come out with it, so I'd usually hammer him from behind and take it away from him and hit him with it, put it in my tights.
Man, that is a lethal weapon, huh?
Oh yeah, it was a scary thing.
When the blade is too civilized, you go for the chisel.
Y'all, oh yeah. I mean, it was scary. It was a nasty looking thing. I mean, the guys for a week, that's all they talked about was, do you see that chisel, man? Can you imagine what that'd feel like? Gosh almighty, you know. And I've seen him do it to a lot of guys. I've seen him hit a lot of guys in Tennessee, and I'm telling you, there's no way you bleed more than that. It just really opened you up, man. It was
bath, huh?
nasty. It was a nasty little tool.